Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of It's Not the Ref with Roland, Clark, and me, your host Guido. And this is for our October, monthly social podcast show, but it will air exclusively on It's Not the Ref as well. So, welcome to the show, guys. How you doing?
Good.
All right. Good.
Yeah, it's the first day of fall.
Yeah, I could tell in Windsor. It got cool here.
Yeah. In Toronto too, the Leafs are falling. There's some injuries happening already. So
you just wanted to set up that pun, didn't you?
I didn't. It just came. It fell into my lap. Just should I keep going? No, I'm gonna stop. No, I don't know. Yeah, it got cold, really not cold, but cooler. We had 30 degrees yesterday, and it's like 12. Today. Sorry, that's for our American friends. 30 is not like cold weather. It's like really hot, so Celsius. It's okay. I heard somebody say today on the radio. I can't remember what station I was listening to. It was like somebody called in or something, and they said they're really enjoying the fall weather because they can start putting their fireplace on today.
Wow.
I still got the air conditioning going.
Oh, we've got our fireplace going. It cooled off a bit. Yeah.
That is so southern.
We're in the same area. How can you turn your fireplace on? It was in the 60s.
I like fire.
Oh, you like fire? Okay.
I was wearing shorts. Anyways, we digress.
I'm not saying I'm not wearing shorts. I said I turned the fire on.
I picture the Castaway scene. I made fire.
Got fire.
Speaking of fire and hot, PK Subban retires this week. You were in shock.
I'm surprised. Because I think he still has some hockey left in him. Yeah, he's not the player he was. In the last couple of years, he has slowed down, but he's what, 31, 32?
I thought he was 33.
33.
That's not.
Yeah.
There are plenty of older guys kicking around still.
I thought, especially, the Leafs have Giordano's 39. And I'm going to some team, you would think could use him, pick him up. He's probably not in the top 4 anymore or whatever, or maybe he can be if there's an emergency or something. But I figured some team could pick him up, and it never happened. And I don't know why. It happened. Maybe he didn't want to play anymore too. That could have been part of it. Maybe that's what set the whole thing going, but I thought some team would try to pick him up.
Yeah, I got the feeling that he has no interest in being a third pair guy, a bubble guy. You've got the ghost of Danny DeKeyser getting a PTO out in Vancouver. You think that somebody would take a flyer on Subban, but maybe it's that he doesn't want to. He wants to go out on his own terms. He doesn't want to be the guy that teams are taking a flyer on.
Look, he in the last 3 seasons, he was a -21, a -16, and a -8.
Plus minus is a flawed stat.
Okay. Well,
not that I disagree with you, but plus minus is a flawed stat.
But if we're I'm gonna compare apples to apples in a little bit, so that's why I'm kind of throwing those out there. But even that, you look at the points: 18, 19, 22. Now, hey, he's got more points than a lot of other NHL players. But was he playing the way we had expected PK Subban to play, right?
No. But he wasn't on some very good teams either, right? They're teams that were never made the playoffs and struggling, rebuilding or whatever. So, the last few years, those are the teams he played on.
Well, okay. Let me look at, the last 3 years in Nashville before that. -8, +18, 5. But his point production was 40, 59, and 31. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's that part of PK Subban, and then the other part of PK Subban was why doesn't anybody take a chance on this guy? Maybe it's a distraction, and we saw a little bit of that in Montreal. The boas and the hats and the dressing up and the attention goes to PK Subban and not the team. I'm not saying this is my opinion. I'm just saying that we've seen these things happen, right? And do you build a team in New Jersey? Do you want that in New Jersey when you're starting to change?
I would counter that Edmonton is giving Jake Virtanen a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And if the problem is that it is how he dresses versus the situations that he gets himself in, that is a hockey culture problem.
And we've talked about those, Clark.
Yeah.
Talked about those. But I agree. I am agreeing. You're right. There might be a hockey culture problem. But I'm not even just saying the way he dresses. I'm just saying the attention that it brings to the individual or to the team. Now, look, if you're the Seattle Kraken, maybe you want that attention, right? You're not going to do much else. Maybe you want that. But if you're the New Jersey, I hate to say this because I like the way PK played, right? So if you're one of those teams and you want to be more serious, maybe that's part of it, that you don't take the flyer on him.
Who says he's not serious? Who says he doesn't take his hockey seriously? Like, a distraction in the room. He's 33. He's not a 20-year-old anymore that comes in, starts making a boatload of cash, probably goes out partying all the time in Montreal. Him and Price get into a lot of trouble in Montreal. The young players get into trouble in Montreal. The fans adored him. The fans loved him. It was management. It was Bergeron there and the coach Terrion, which I could call him a few good names here, but I'm not going to. He had no business being, and they didn't like his attitude. He didn't like the way he outside of hockey or even in the dressing room too. They didn't like him, and they basically shut him down and then ended up trading him. That was a mistake, and I said that from. But I would have never traded him for Shea Weber. I would have gotten rid of him because after they got rid of Subban, they had made the finals, the conference finals there, and then they missed out. They traded him. Subban the next season goes to the finals with Nashville, right? And he really sparked them. Montreal went downhill after that and never got far till
all right, wait.
The year before.
I don't know that Subban and Weber going to those respective teams were the things that turned things around for either one of them. But if we're gonna bring Shea Weber into the equation, it's been happening right since the trade. Who won the deal? Was it Weber? Was Weber better? Was PK? Look at this, okay? Shea Weber played for 16 seasons. PK Subban now will have played for 13 seasons. Shea Weber scored 589 points over 1,038 games. Subban scored 467 over 834. They're relatively point for point. They're the same. They're around that 0.56, 0.55 over the span of their careers. One of them played 3 seasons longer though, and that's Weber. So I don't know that from a point production.
I don't think technically though, wait. Check Weber's. Well, how many games?
Weber played 1,038 and Subban played 834.
Is that 3 seasons? I don't think it's 3 seasons.
Roughly with injuries and other things that have happened, right? But the point production's about the same is what I'm saying. Now, and that's scoring. We're just looking at point production and scoring. From a plus minus, which Clark says, hey, it's flawed, but you have Weber sitting at a career plus 79 and you have Subban sitting at a career plus 5. I know, different teams, different scenarios, right? But you kind of look at the body of work and then you go, does one of these guys, is one of them better than the other? What is the difference? One's a perceived as a very loud leader and the other one's perceived as a very quiet leader. And so you have
And
very different personalities.
hockey does not like loud people. That's
That's
what I
it.
was saying about hockey culture earlier.
Right.
That serious hockey men want quiet players who the best quote you'll get out of them is "get pucks deep" and all that stuff. And a character like PK Subban is not doesn't fit in the serious hockey man narrative. And you can say a lot of things about why that might be that I am not going to say. But it is part of hockey, undeniably.
And you know what? And I can't deny this. When he started with Montreal, he energized the fan base.
Yeah,
he energized the building. He energized the fan base. He brought something that team didn't have for a lot of years. There was excitement, but that product off the ice matched the product on the ice. Yes, he was loud. Yes, he delivered. What happens is you continue to be loud, but your delivery changes, and all of a sudden the perception also changes, right?
I don't think his delivery changed in Montreal.
No, I'm talking about towards like the last few years now, right?
Yeah.
But I also don't think he was as loud though. His delivery dropped off, but he also got quieter in general, I think.
Yeah.
Well, did he just play in a market where he didn't get the coverage that he would normally get?
He was basically adjacent to the New York market. He was in as big a market as he could have been without going to Toronto.
Look, we got the New York Rangers, we got the New York Islanders, and then we got the New Jersey Devils, maybe. so the New Jersey Devils get attention when they win a Stanley Cup.
The top hockey writer for ESPN is a Devils fan, so the opportunity was there.
Sure. Maybe he still had his Nashville Cowboy hat on. I don't know, guys, but either way, I think we lost a good hockey player in the NHL, but we lost a good talented hockey player in the NHL, but in a way that I don't think he's going to go away. I think he's going to be in he's got the personality to do the TV stuff, right?
I would be shocked if he wasn't broadcasting games this year.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's good for hockey. That is absolutely good for hockey to get someone with his personality presenting the game.
Yeah. And Clark, you and I were texting back and forth, and you brought up a good point earlier this week, right? Because I said, well, maybe it has to do with the attitude, or maybe it has to do with the persona, and I think tongue in cheek, you kind of said, "You're right." And how about all the charity work, right?
Not entirely tongue in cheek. I mean, and as I often say, I'm only ever half being a smartass. So there's always truth behind all that. But yeah, that I do think it's interesting that he has this. There is this perceived notion of PK Subban as the selfish guy, while he's also simultaneously throwing out millions of dollars to hospitals, and that doesn't really jive. Absolutely, it is entirely possible that he's in the dressing room being all me, and then out in public he's not. Or that he's even doing the charity stuff to draw attention to himself. It's ulterior motives.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to fit to me. Like there's this narrative that like he's the bad guy, but look at this. It's just it feels forced to me.
Yeah, and he continued that in Nashville. He had a program that he set up in Nashville, and then when he went to Jersey, he set up another program with Jersey. I think it was with veterans and kids and things like that, and he brought them together, police departments and kids, and tickets and getting people to the game. He wasn't a fake. Nobody does that kind of spends that kind of money or puts himself out there out front and say me and does that kind of stuff. It doesn't jive.
No, I agree. I agree with you guys on that stuff. But you can be a very charitable person and still not be liked because you have some personality issues and conflicts. So those
And I guess
things have to also kind of, you know, I don't believe those things that I like when I say it that way. I don't believe it, guys. But it's not impossible. Like I could give you both $100 every day, but I'm still gonna say the things that I say when we text, and you're still not gonna like them. So, right?
I guess what I would say there is like, okay, if he is bothering his teammates, then it's a problem in the locker room. Is the problem him or is the problem them?
We go back
And
to culture.
I mean,
We go
if
back
it's
to
the whole
culture.
room doesn't like him, then okay, that does seem to be a problem with him. But at the same time, it does come back to hockey culture not liking the loud people, and maybe there were some people that needed to just get over it. That hey, loud isn't bad.
That's right.
Yeah, and we say it all the time, right? Like loud leaders, quiet leaders. There's a time and place for both of them, and maybe for PK Subban it was just a matter of timing. But I will say this, and I want to put it to bed. I don't think that Nashville won the trade, and I don't think Montreal won. I think that it was an even trade, point for point. What both of those guys did for each of their respective teams during that period of time,
I don't know.
I think it was a good deal.
I didn't care. Again, I'll repeat it. I didn't care for the deal when it happened, and then at the end too, with what happened with Weber, never showed up. Where was he?
Yeah, you're talking like
not a word, not a game. Didn't show up. You know, at the exit interviews, it's like, bye guys, see you later. I'm not leaving. Wherever he was, BC, wherever he's living now. It's like, thanks for, you know, and he just left.
Look,
Is the kind of
Shea
person
Weber.
I don't want to. I don't want to play
Shea
like.
Weber was a good captain on the ice. Maybe he wasn't good in terms of some of the other expectations in Montreal when you're no longer playing, I guess. But as far as hockey, the game itself goes, the dressing room, from what we know, he was a good captain. He was respected by his teammates. You know, he brought kids along. They called him dad. I mean, this isn't a guy who's not captain material when the other players are calling him dad. So, you know, maybe it was just not in his. He wasn't the loud guy off the ice. He wasn't the guy that was going to come back. Did it bother me as a Canadiens fan? Did it bother me that maybe he didn't come back for the Guy Lafleur ceremony and he's the still captain, although, you know, retired? Yeah, it bothered me. Yeah, I'd want the captain there.
That's not how a Canadiens captain
reacts. I agree. But that's culture.
That's not how they do it. Yeah.
Clark, you're shaking your head there.
I'm not going to speak to what is expected of a Canadiens captain because not my team. I'm not. I'll let you guys speak to that.
Yeah, because we're talking about it as fans when we get into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I keep hearing a Canadiens captain is a quiet, lead by example guy, not a loud guy, and that's a culture thing.
So
how was the Rocket? How was the Rocket? Was the Rocket a nice, quiet guy, or did he break sticks over people's heads? How was the Rocket? Was he fiery on the ice in the locker room, or was he just the quiet guy? You know what? I think I'll go back to my cottage and sit back, have a couple of beer, don't say anything. He wasn't like that. But he wasn't a quiet guy.
And hockey was different then. There was I'll bring it to the Wings. Actually, something that bridges the Wings and the Canadiens. Mickey Redmond, the color commentator for the Wings now, former Canadian, former Red Wing.
I love Mickey Redmond.
And he's always talking about how things were better back then, in part because of the personalities. And here we are saying now, here's a player with personality, and how dare he have that personality?
Yeah, that's right. Look at Mickey. Isn't Mickey a personality?
Oh, he is such a personality.
I'll
say, like, I mean, it is heresy for me to say this. I'm a little over him after this many years as the Wings color guy.
You're gonna get hate mail. You're gonna get hate mail.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're getting
absolutely.
hate mail.
At the same time, I can't imagine anyone else doing the job. So this is not me saying, oh, they should hire X, Y, or Z instead or anything. It's his shtick is very predictable, and same thing with Ken Daniels, his play-by-play commentator. Like, I can watch the games on mute. I know what they're gonna say. So that's all that aside. Like,
well, Clark, do you see the difference between Mickey Redmond and then they'll have Chris Osgood on?
I will say I like Ozzy just because he's different.
He's different, right? But I mean, he's dry, he's slow, methodical. Compared to Redmond, it's like, yeah, I watch a lot of Wings games too here. Eh? I watch a lot of games, so yeah.
But he was a goalie. Like, you're getting into different personalities.
Or even
absolutely.
Murphy, even when Murphy's on.
Oh yeah. Oh man, Murph.
So guys, you're talking about the serious captain. The Canadians just named Suzuki captain, and now you look, there's a fan base out there going, hey, how about Brendan Gallagher, right? And I said over a year ago on GuidoPrano.com in my blog, the Canadians should have traded Brendan Gallagher, and I still think they're going to trade Brendan Gallagher, which is why they didn't name him captain. But you look at Brendan's product on the ice, that with the refs and all of that sort of stuff that goes with it. They don't pick Brendan Gallagher. They pick Suzuki. What is Suzuki's personality? What do we see? We see Clark. You kind of said it at the beginning of the show.
I'm not the Habs fan. I have no idea what.
No, but you said it at the beginning of the show. You got a quiet guy who's going to give you the answers that you want to hear. He'll take the coaching. Is that Brendan Gallagher? It's not Brendan Gallagher.
You know who the captain's going to be at the start of the season? Brendan Gallagher.
Well, no, he'll still have an A on his shirt.
Somebody's going to be a captain because Suzuki's out and Edmondson is out. Gallagher's the captain. There you go.
So I was gonna say, have you seen? We're in preseason here, but there's a litany of injuries that are coming out. I joked around about the Leafs and injuries at the start, but Jake Muzzin is out for a couple of weeks with a lower back injury. Suzuki's out for, they say, 2 weeks. Edmondson is out indefinitely, but I think there was a collision between Edmondson and Suzuki that sort of brought that on or something. So we don't know, but
Edmondson didn't play a lot last year.
He only played like a couple of games at the end, I think, towards the end of the
season.
Hardly played. Yeah. But it's preseason. Like, these guys have been presumably off, maybe, trying to get back into. And I say getting back into shape versus them getting back into shape is completely something different.
I don't understand, and maybe you guys can enlighten me on this, but these players have been off, 3-4 months, some of them 5 months, whatever, right? Aren't you supposed to come into camp in top shape, ready to go? Why do some of these players come in and already injuries are happening, or they'll say, it's surgery and he's got a foot problem, surgery, he's going to be out for 5 months. How does that happen? Why don't they do that at the end of the season and then by now they're ready to go? It doesn't happen. What's going on?
Some of them do, and I'll speak to the Wings because I'm paying attention to Detroit now and not to any of the other lame teams. But like, I mean, Dylan Larkin is coming in having had abdominal surgery last spring. Andrew Kopp is going to miss camp and the exhibition season because he had surgery. Jake Wallman's missing time because he had surgery. Robbie Fabry's out until midseason because he had surgery. You get the surgery done over the summer, but sometimes that's not enough time. Some of these things are major issues.
How about the ones that camp and then say we have to get surgery now? I don't get it. It's like.
And I'll say, like, Andrew Kopp, he had his surgery over the summer. It's just that it was the summer, so nobody said anything. And that's one of those things that I think, like, I could rant about hockey writers for a long time. That, like, some hockey writer probably should have caught that. Like, talk to the new guy. Hey, how you feeling? What are you doing? Oh, well, I had surgery last month. Oh, that's big news. But that story never gets written for lots of reasons.
Yeah. I think
this,
some of these things are just, look, they're up, you know, they're day-to-day upper body, day-to-day lower body. If you think you do work around the house, right? And you go and do something different that your muscles aren't used to. You might be exercising a certain way, and all of a sudden you go to camp and they've got you doing something a little different. Those, you're not, maybe you didn't work that set of muscles and you get a little sore. You know, I think that's what it is. And they're so, you know, nowadays with the athletes, they're so fine tuned, right? Like that just a
aren't they
little sway
supposed,
this way or a little bit that way. And
they're supposed to be training all summer for the start of the season. And plus, Montreal just had a golf tournament. They were all out there golfing. Now all of a sudden, they all have lower body injuries. It's like,
yeah, but
come
they had a
on.
lot of time. They had a lot of time to golf this year. What do you want? They 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 got good at it.
Span. I'm going, really? You just played 18 holes. And now you're out at camp? Like, come on.
They
I
got
cannot.
You think those guys limit themselves to 18?
No, probably not. No, they go on. It keeps going around.
they got good at it this year. What do you want? They might get good at it again next year. The way
Yeah.
things are going. Josh Anderson's out. Jake Evans is day to day as well. So, but it's my point was this: it's early. Like, we're hearing about these things, and the fans are going, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? This guy's out. That guy's out." You know, when you see the out indefinitely, then you kind of go, "Okay, maybe I might be interested in that." The day to day stuff,
Yeah.
I'm not really overly concerned about that. But I guess we'll see. Gallagher with the whole captaincy thing, you know, he said all the right things afterwards
Oh, yeah.
and whatnot. So, but we'll see how that all shakes out. I don't
Because
think
he's a hockey guy with the hockey personality that says get
all the
pucks
right
deep and
things.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Bingo.
I don't know if he's going to be a Canadian by the end of the season, just like a bunch of other players. But the other thing that caught my eye today was, and we talked about this in the past with what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, Czechoslovakia, or yeah, the Czechs. They said, the government said no to Russian players for their upcoming Prague series, and they've basically sent notice, I guess, to the NHL as well. So you've got that still going on, and there's leagues that are going, we're not doing it. We're not supporting these players. They're not coming here.
So I have trouble with this a bit because I think there is a certain level where you don't want to allow your team to be used as propaganda or your location to be used as propaganda or anything like that. But to me, that's, I think, like Jokerit saying we're out of the KHL. We're not doing this anymore. US based Russian players aren't going to be used that way. So I think the Czechs are a little bit off here, but I'm also not so, I don't think they're so far off that I'm going to like rip into them about it or anything. It's a bad deal, and the Russian invasion is a bad deal, and having anything to do with looking like you're promoting Russian players, and Russian hockey has a close tie to the Russian government and all that stuff. I can see why the Czechs would say, you know what, we don't want any part of that.
Here's the question, Clark. What do we want these players to do? Do we want them to denounce Russia? Like,
I mean, I would love it, but I see why they don't. I mean, I was when we talked about this last winter when it first started, that I mean, most of these guys have family back in Russia, and with how things are going there, I do not blame them for not speaking out.
Yeah.
I wish they would.
That's the difficult
there are
balance.
guys. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
There are guys who don't go back. They don't go back to Russia in the summer, and I kind of wish those guys would. You know, get your family out of there and get and start saying some stuff. But it's complicated for them.
I think my first emotional reaction to all of that when it first started happening was, that's right, get rid, no Russian players, right? Yeah, but that's emotion, right? That's the first thing that we kind of think. But then you kind of look at it and you go, yeah, these guys have families there, and if they speak out, and if they do what they want them to do about denouncing it, they could be putting their family at risk, and their family can't get out, or there's just a bunch more that's there. So I'm in the middle on this, right? It's kind of like I get why they don't want to promote the Russia thing,
Yeah.
but
There's a lot of history there too. There's
there
history
is.
back
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with hockey, right? And yeah, the Czechs were invaded by Russia. There's a dislike there, right? And now with everything that's going on again, and that fear again, that hey, is Ukraine the only country they're going to invade? Is there going to be more? Even those little small Latvia and all those Belarus and whatever, all those little countries that broke away, they're right next door to them, and they're living in fear. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think I read something today that there's not too many Russian players on these teams that are participating in this. So I don't know if that's going to be a real.
Well, I mean, Mike Greer, new GM of the Sharks, he made a statement today that said that if their whole team can't go, they're not going.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, there might not be many Russian players, but that is the stance that at least the Sharks. I don't know about any other teams. I think I saw something from Nashville saying the same thing or something similar. But that is a stance for them to take. And these are, I mean, real games for these teams. It's not like this is a promotional thing or something like that. You're at a disadvantage if you have to leave those players behind. And I think the NHL doesn't want them to have to leave those players behind. So it's going to come down to the NHL and the Czechs working this out. And I think if the Czechs don't back down, the games will just get canceled. And I know just is in heavy quotes there because that is a big deal.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about money. I don't know.
No.
Oh, in the end, of course, it's about money.
Well, look,
I'll throw one in here. If it's not about money, there wouldn't be that RBC patch on those Canadian sweaters.
Oh, hey, did you see the Toronto Maple Leafs got
got
milk patch on theirs, right? They have a
they
farmer.
did?
Yeah, they're wearing a milk patch on theirs. But here's the thing.
Dairy Farmers of Ontario or something like that.
I'm gonna send Roland off the edge here.
Where, the front? Where's the Leaf one?
It's on the other side of their right here, right at the top. I'm gonna send you over the edge here. So if the Leafs, you ready? If the Leafs win the cup this year, are they gonna drink milk out of it?
It's not gonna happen.
And how do they support? What are they gonna say? Drink milk? They don't even they can't even have a cup to put the milk in. How are they gonna do that?
Right.
You know?
That's right.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna stop. Here's what
like
we
I
know.
Said the other day, like Leafs fans shouldn't have a cow about this.
Here's what we know.
I'll see myself out.
We know that there's, we're talking about the ban in Russia in terms of hockey players, and we don't know where that's going to go, but we do know that Subban won't be on the ice this year. With that, it's not the ref. You got Roland, you got Clark, and you got Guido. Take care, folks. Thanks for listening.